Okay, so in this step we're going to take a look at locating and creating the blocks for our doors and our windows. Let's go ahead and start with our doors here. Basically with these notes, you can see that once you created your opening, we have a pretty simple set of lines to represent these symbols. And for our door, we're just going to show a thick door panel there and a very thin door swing. So that way we can center the pivot point in the middle of the wall, and then we can draw our arc to signify the opening swing there. And what we'll want to do is project these doors at the same angle just to be consistent. So you could do something that's like anywhere between 15, 30, and 45 degrees. Sometimes they're shown 90 degrees as well. So you can see the full area that needs to be clear in order to access a room or area using that door. All right. Also, if you take a look at the way that we're going to do the panels for the folding doors, for example, if we've got our 4-foot opening here, each of these panels are going to be represented as 12-inch width panels, and then whatever thickness they will be. Okay, these will be pretty easy. You can create one set and simply mirror, and then mirror the other set. So let's take a look at how we're going to approach this. All right, so we can start down here with our front door. Okay, we've got there our front and our back door, which is the same width and the same thickness. Okay, and then we have our bedroom doors here, which are the same width but different thickness. So once again, we want to take a look at just making a very simple rectangle here. So if I start with that, you can see I'm on layer 0 right now, just doing the line work. And so here, what I'll do is, for example, if I start at the midpoint, I'm going to draw a rectangle using relative coordinates. So I can say here at 36, comma, and we have 1 dash 3/4 inch, right? And now, depending on the way that I'm going to open this door, I might want to rotate it. So if I use rotate command, I'll select the rectangle there, and I'm going to use the inside corner here to rotate it. Again, if you're using your polar tracking, you should be able to find your 45 degrees, or if you want to adjust that, make it a little bit shallower. We got our 15 or 30 degrees there. Okay, just keep it consistent. And then we have the arc. And of course, there's so many different ways to draw the arc. But if you take a look at this one here, the start, center, and end. Now remember that it goes positive, right? So if let's say we use this as the start, we can use the pivot point as our center, and then we could end it back here at the midpoint or at the start of the wall. So there's all the line work we'll need for a typical door, right? Now, I'm going to place the door swing on the A door frame layer here. When I'm ready to make it into a block, I'm going to use the A door layer here, and you're going to see that when I create a block from this line work, the door panel will turn magenta. Okay, because the block itself will be on the A door layer. So if I type B for block, enter, I can create my door here. Give it a name and possibly a description to help you locate and select your block as appropriate. You'll want to set the base point here so that it's easier for you to place the door in the walls. Now keep in mind that you may have different door or wall thicknesses. So think about what will be the base point. In this case, if I use the midpoint of the wall, right, I can position it always in the same place in this exterior wall. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now, the objects that you'll select, use this button to select the objects. You have your description there. We're not going to do anything with the behavior. Now there's a couple things here with the mode. You can see it's set to convert to block. Now if I wanted to reuse this, right, if I wanted to retain the line work and modify it so I could simply create a different version or a different block of a similar door, you can do that as well. But right now I'll just convert to block. And then you'll see now all the line work is one group, right? You can see the one base point right there in the middle of the wall. And you can see the door panel and the door swing each have their own layer colors. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. So now that I have that block representing my front door there, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the back door. We actually have the same size door and thickness, so it would make sense that I could go ahead and use that same block. Now if you take a look at the way that it comes in when I insert the block using the Insert tab, Insert Block here, you can see that I can use my block dialog box here to locate in a list. What might make it easier too is to use the Design Center. When you use the Design Center, you actually have a tab here called Open Drawings, and you could take a look at the particular drawing that you're in, and you could take a look at blocks. Then in this area you'll be able to see the icon list, but as you select it there you'll be able to easily read the description and you'll be able to see the line work. And the way that you could use it here is two different ways. You could simply select it, drag and drop it, or you could do something like this where you go Insert Block. So it's very similar to using this button right here. But this is a different way to locate your blocks. If I do it like this, you can see I pop up the same dialog box, and you can see here the insertion point is to specify on screen, and then I could also specify the rotation. With these blocks we are not changing the scale. So let me close this window and you'll see here's the block. I use the midpoint of the base wall as my insertion point. When I look at the plan now, I realize here that the door actually opens towards the inside, right? No problem. Here's what I could do. Either by rotation or by simply mirroring. If I mirror, I can select the block, once again use the same insertion base point, and now just use that center line of the wall to reflect the door. And instead of making a copy, I'm going to erase the original. And there we go. So this is one way that you can reuse blocks, right? Keep it simple, keep it organized. Now, as we continue, if we take a look at the next one here, we've got the bedroom door. That's door 3. We've got 36-inch opening, but the difference here is we've got 1 3/8 thickness. No problem. Here's what we'll do. I'll go ahead and come back to my Home tab, switch to 0 layer once again, and then draw with a rectangle. I'm just going to just draw it in space here. Draw a rectangle at 36, 1 3/8 inch. Okay, so there's the panel. And now what I'll do is I'll position it pretty much the same way that I've done before. I'll take my midpoint to my midpoint there, select it, right click, rotate it using the same base point just to stand it up, and then now I can rotate it for the opening. Once again, I want to just think about which side of the door I'm going to use as the pivot point, and then working with my polar tracking there, I can have the same door opening angle there. And then once again, with my arc tool, I can go ahead and specify the start point, the center, and then the finish point. Okay? Once again, since this is a different door, and it appears multiple times in my plan, I'll go ahead and make it a block. So let's switch layers to the A door layer. I'll place the arc on the A door frame layer and go ahead and make a block. So B for block. I'll call this door 2. For my description, I could call it bedroom doors. You know, give it a dimension if I like. the objects, or sorry, the base point here. Again, the middle of the door, or the wall there, and then the objects. I'll go ahead and select the panel and the arc. All right, we can review our settings there and simply click OK, and we're done. Now, the different places that I'm going to use this door include here in the bathroom and then over here in the bedroom. And again, if we take a look at the way that it's going to be inserted, we know that it's going to start right here. The hinge is on this side, and it's going to open towards the bedroom. I'm in the proper layer. I can do my insert now. You can see here's door 2. That's the last block that I created. You can see the settings, specify on screen, and rotate for insertion. When I click OK, notice, okay, this is not the right orientation, but for example, look, I can place it and then rotate it. You zoom out so you can see, and then rotate it. Now, when I look at it like this, it doesn't seem to be the right orientation, but I can flip it around too. Right? So here, if I just put it in straight for now, I'm going to zoom in here and then I'll mirror it. Okay, so if I mirror this, can pick the same base point there. Remember that you want to get rid of the original. And then now I can once again select it, right click, and do my rotation using the same base point there, and then rotating it to the appropriate angle. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the last 2 doors here. I'll just use the keyboard I for insert. Okay. Same settings there for the insertion. And here we'll once again pick the midpoint of the wall, and then we can simply rotate it right into position there. Now, instead of inserting, what we could do here is we could probably mirror. Now you're wondering, where can we get the midpoint here, right? Is there a midpoint? You'll notice that if I start to mirror, I can't find my midpoint along that wall, right? But you could always just draw a temporary line, something like that. Or if you simply mirror it in space, then you could just reposition it based on its insertion point. So for example, if I just draw a quick line right here, make sure you go from finish to finish, for example, select the block, use the midpoint here, I could just reflect it to the other side. There we go. Okay, the last door here is 24 inches and 1 3/8, right? So similarly, what we're going to do here, and this one's open at 90 degrees, right? So we'll go ahead, go back to the Home tab, switch layers to the 0 layer. Go ahead and start with a rectangle. We'll start over here at its insertion point. I'll draw that at 24, 1 3/8. Okay, there's that. And let's reposition. Okay, and then once again we could show the door swing. Now remember, this is almost like 3/4 of the circle there, so we got to think about where our start point's going to be. Okay, and then our center pivot, and then we'll bring that swing all the way around there. And it looks like I might have opened, made my opening slightly larger, right? I think I made it 28 instead of the 24. No problem. Look, let's fix it right now, right? This is kind of interesting just to see how many people follow instructions. But let's go ahead and fix it. It's not a problem because what we could do is type S. S is for stretch. And stretch will let me select my grip points here with a crossing window. And then I could just pick a base point and project. And then direct distance input the difference. I believe it's 4 inches right there. And we could double check here with a measure tool. So if I measure the opening there, that should be 24 inches. Okay. So you can see, even while still using the multi-lines, you can see when you're editing, you have less to select, less to worry about, because those lines are integrated with the multi-line style. All right, let's finish off with that door swing. Here's the start point. This is our center pivot, and here's our finish. I'll go ahead and place this onto the A door frame layer. I'll switch layers. Okay, now we're ready to make that block. B for block. We'll call this door 3. Now again, this has nothing to do with our door symbol schedule, right? But it's just for us to be able to identify the door blocks we're using. So the objects here include the panel and the swing. Hit enter, click OK, and there's our block. Now, the last thing we have are the 2 bifolding doors, right? On the top, we've got a 5-foot, and on the bottom, we got a 4-foot. So here's one way that we could approach it. If I switch to layer 0 here, all we're showing are the panels, right? And so with our 5-foot opening here, we've got each panel here is going to be about 30, well, altogether 30 inches right here, but each of these panels here is going to be shown as 15 inches, and then for the 4-foot, we're going to show 12 inches. And we could just lay them out 45 degrees or 30 degrees to one another, okay? So here, again, if I just start with a rectangle, and I believe those thicknesses are also 1 3/8. So if we draw this at 15, 1-3/8, there's one panel. Let's just position it first, right? So I'll go from midpoint to midpoint, select it again, and now rotate it using the same midpoint. And you can see we can reflect it like that. Let's move it out. There we go. So that middle still becomes the midpoint there, or the pivot point. And then here, I'll do mirror. Use just the corner there, and just use a horizontal mirror line. Okay? And then now, to do the other side, once again, there's nowhere where we can detect a midpoint, but if we just draw a temporary line from finish to finish, for example, now we can just simply mirror both panels using the midpoint here. Okay? And then get rid of that temporary line. Alright, so once again, switch layers, right? I'm going to make a block now. B for block. Call this closet 1. This is 5-foot opening. Our base point here, I'll pick. We can just use the middle of the door opening in the wall there. Select our objects, all 4, and then click OK. There we go. So real quickly, let's just go ahead and do this one too. So switch layers, back to 0 layer. Start with our rectangle. We've got at 12 inches, 1-3/8. Okay, we'll position. We'll rotate. Select and then right click to rotate. We'll project it, push it out a little bit. We'll go ahead and mirror. We'll draw our temporary line from finish to finish and mirror both panels based on that midpoint there and a horizontal reference line there, and then get rid of our temporary line. Once again, switch layers, and then we'll make our block. What do we call the other one? Closet 1. We'll call this one closet 2. Okay, once again, the base point, we'll use the center of that wall, and the objects, all 4 panels. All right. That should complete our full set of doors. In the next video, we'll take a look at windows.